What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Divine here, and I'm extremely excited for this episode. I know I've said that every episode, but a lot of things have changed since the last episode, and it's only been the off season, the end of the off season, and spring training. But spring training taught me a lot of things about this team. More importantly, about the farm system of this team, and it also posed a bunch of questions. And I have those questions right here. But first, let's get into the news. What has happened since the last episode? And as I'm scrolling down, I'm sure you guys are taking a peek. But I was up here. Yeah. So, Yasmani Grandal signs with the N-Division Angels. Scooter Gennett signs with the Nationals. We did bring in Oscar De La Cruz. Atlanta did sign Anthony Rendon, the guy that we were potentially looking at, and they signed him to a pretty team-friendly contract. It is 7 years long, but he can't opt out after 3 years. So maybe, just maybe in the future, our paths will link again, but I'm not really counting on that because, there's a chance that he doesn't really keep playing extremely well, like at all-star level, and he just takes his option. But you never know. And the Hall of Fame voting, Oakland did go and get their ace, and they stole Garrett Cole from the Astros. Sorry about that. And Chicago gets Strasburg on $27 a year for 5 years, so it's a pretty big contract, but Chicago is no stranger to signing big contracts. We did get Ryan Presley. I think I've already talked about this. The Astros get Zach Wheeler. Maybe he'll be another guy that goes to the Astros and just turns it on, like Justin Verlander. St. Louis got that Cuban that I was talking about. Looks like he's going to open the year in AAA for some reason, which is weird. Had a really good World Cup of Baseball. Also had a very impressive spring training. So I'm not sure why he's opening the year in AAA, but Toronto gets Chris Davis. So finally the Ranger killer is out of the division. The Red Sox visit the White House. I don't know why that's there. Donaldson signs with the Tigers, so I'm not really sure as to why they would sign him. I mean, I know they do have a big hole at third base. Lugo really isn't the answer. And, I mean, I guess they have Isaac Paredes, but he's more of like a second baseman, shortstop. But, I don't know. I guess he can be like a mentor or something for those young guys coming through the Detroit team as they turn over a new leaf. The Detroit team is going to be really, really strong in a few years. And this is some big news. Ronald Guzman, who was our lone all-star last year, he has really developed nicely. Had a great spring training. Has really transformed himself into the guy that we all know he would be. We all knew he would be, and then some. He's yet to win that Gold Glove that I think he'll win. His defense is very, very underrated, but offensively he took a giant leap last year. Hit nearly 300. He hit over 300 the entire year. He kind of went cold at the end of the year. 357 OBP over a 3-win player. Hit 23 bombs, and he wasn't playing in the middle of the lineup either. So that's why the Ribby total was down. But he did play in almost every single game last year. Was just extremely, extremely productive, which is why he got a nice little contract, 6 years, $37 million. $37 million is no small amount of money, but this is a team-friendly deal for sure. But we do lock him up for our window, so this will be our starting first baseman during our window that we're trying to win our championship. So Ronald Guzman, I'm excited for that. Nomar Mazara, he was interested in signing that big deal after such a big year, that breakout year that everybody wanted out of him. And yeah, I've already talked about what kind of year he had. If you need refreshing, here it is. But this is the contract that he signed, and this is relatively team friendly as well. Reminds me a lot of the Gregory Polanco deal that was signed a few years ago with the Pirates. This is also a 6-year deal, so if you see similarities, you probably know why. This is the window that we're trying to win. 6 years, $62.5 million. Not a bad deal at all, especially for a guy like Nomar Mazara. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. It gives us room to sign somebody huge for that rotation or maybe in the lineup. Willie Calhoun was also signed as he broke out in a big way last year. This is going to be our DH during this window, as he signed for 6 years as well. $31 million, $1 million next year, $2 million in 2022, $5 million in 2023, $7.5 million in 24-25, and then a player option, as I'm sure you guys could guess, in 2026. So Willie got his money. I'm sure his white girlfriend will love that one. As Boston signs Didi Gregorius, which is very interesting. Goes from the Yankees, very popular in the Yankees clubhouse, to the Red Sox. So that's pretty funny. Joey Gallo was signed, and this isn't a 6-year deal, believe it or not. It's only to pay for next year of arbitration. I still need to see something from Joey Gallo. I'm not totally sold on Joey Gallo at all. This was to ensure that I didn't have to pay upwards of $5, $6, $7 million in arbitration next year if he does have a big year this year. Because the arbitration agencies, they love homers. So if he broke out this year, we were going to have to pay him a lot in arbitration, as next year would be his 4th year of arbitration, and yeah, he would be getting paid big money if he broke out. So this is kind of a deal to ensure that, even if he does break out, it won't hurt us. So I got to see something from Joey Gallo. If he doesn't show me something this year, he could potentially be traded. He could potentially be traded at the deadline. Joey Gallo's spot is not concrete at all. I'm going to be making calls. I'm going to be, testing the water if he's not producing this year. And, we're going to see what we can get for him, I guess. He did have an excellent spring training like he always does. Had a 1.422 OPS, and it's just ridiculous. But he better break out this year, or I'm going to test the waters. I'm going to see if we can get a top I'm not going to just give him away, obviously, but if we find a deal that makes sense for us, lets Bubba Thompson potentially play next year, then I might pull the trigger. I don't know. It's in his hands. If he breaks out, obviously I can't do that. I hope he does, but he hasn't earned a contract yet. He hasn't earned a concrete spot in this lineup as we begin to enter our window next year. So Joey Gallo is an interesting situation on our team. Verlander leaves the Astros and goes to the Braves, so that's a good signing for them. We pick up Jake Odorizzi. I was talking about him, which is good because Mike Minor actually tore something in his arm, so he'll be out for the first 5 months. So I'm glad I signed him. I'm glad I signed Michael Walker. And those guys will help pick up the slack until Mike Minor comes back. We do sign Andy Beltre, the righty bullpen arm. And we do get our guy, the South Korean. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name, but I mean, just look at his ratings. I mean, he looks like the real deal. He had an excellent spring training. Is he our closer? I don't know. But yeah, he looks really, really good. And the contract isn't too bad either. It's 6 years, as I'm sure you guys could guess. And it doesn't really start getting expensive until the middle of our window. So, good deal for us if he plays well. And we also sign Suzui Miyamoto, and he is a top 5 prospect in baseball. This is probably top 10 of my best signings ever in OOTP. He's from Japan. We are going to let him get some at-bats. Second baseman, third baseman, mostly third base, but some at shortstop to spell Elvis. He can play just about anywhere, so I'm really happy we got this guy. He's a good locker room guy. I've already went over his skill set, but very, very, very talented young guy. Hopefully he continues to develop. So I'm excited about him. He is a top 5 prospect in baseball, as you guys will see in a little bit. Washington signs Mike Moustakas. So as they lose Anthony Rendon, they sign Moustakas. Not a bad trade off on them, as they did make the World Series last year. Nelson Cruz signs with the Cubs. I was gonna do something funny. I was gonna put that miscatch in the World Series on here, as I introduced this, but I don't know. I didn't want to do it, but it's funny that he goes to an NL team. He'll have to either be strictly a bench bat, which I'm sure he will be at 39 years old and coming off a pretty bad year, but if he wants to play every day, he's gonna have to play right field, and he is just god awful, especially at this point. Alex Wood gets the fucking bag from the Rockies. They signed him 7 years, $105 million. Don't know if I would sign him to that. Probably not. Definitely not. But, to each their own. The Yankees signed Dallas Keuchel to a pretty team-friendly deal. He's 32, but he's been declining ever since that Cy Young year in 2015. We'll see if he can stay healthy and put together a good season for the Yankees. Marcell Ozuna goes back to the Marlins. I had thoughts of signing Marcell maybe as a bench, sometimes DH, sometimes to spell off Joey Gallo type bat because he's right-handed. But he went to the Marlins on a pretty cheap deal. I mean, I wasn't going to pay anything close to that, even though it's pretty cheap. So he goes back home. The Red Sox lose JD Martinez. He goes to the Toronto Blue Jays on close to $100 million deal. So he opts out of there after winning a World Series. Dylan Betances goes to the Cardinals. So does Trevor Rosenthal. Yasiel Puig goes to the Brewers. So that's interesting. Austin Hedges started a charity or some bullshit. I don't know. Our owner, this is important. Our owner gives us a lot more money, $12 million more dollars in our budget. So that's important, especially next year being our window. I'm telling you guys, we are going to hit free agency hard this year. We're going to hit it straight in the mouth. Hopefully there's some guys that are there that could really benefit our ball club. I haven't really scouted it yet, but I'm really excited because I'm sure this year we're going to be an under 500 team, obviously, but next year starts the window, and I'm excited. We got some money to play around with. So Corey Dickerson goes to the Twins. That's a good signing for them. He's coming off of a very good year with the Pirates. And wow, the MLB decides to stop the bullshit with the teams keeping their great prospects down a month to play with the arbitration years. So they extended to 7 years. So teams now have no excuse to keep their prospects down. As soon as they're ready, you're going to start seeing those guys come up, and it's going to be very exciting for baseball. So I really, really like this move. I'm not one for change in the MLB, but this is something that needed changing. And so good job to OOTP for implementing the franchise evolvement or whatever the fuck you would say. But this is really cool. I really fuck with this move a lot. And yeah, that's good. In the Hall of Fame, votings came back. Derek Jeter was the first ballot. Kurt Schilling actually got in. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens did get in. So all these steroid guys, they're going to get in from now on. I did vote for Bonds and Clemens. As there already are guys in the Hall of Fame that have done steroids. So I really don't give a shit. But, those are two of the best ever at their respective positions. So put them in the Hall of Fame. You can't keep them out just because of steroids when there's other guys in the Hall of Fame for steroids. So that's how I feel about that. Castellanos goes to the Red Sox to be their DH after they lose JD Martinez. So they're just sucking the Detroit Tigers dry. Hector Rondon goes to the A's from the Astros. Dan Vogelbach. I like this about OTP. Dan Vogelbach reported to camp, and he lost a lot of weight. He only weighs 210 pounds now. I think he weighed 240 or something. So that's really cool about this game. On to sadder news. Nick Senzel tore his knee, and he'll be out for the year. Cal Quantrill tore something in his arm. He'll be out for the year. DeMarcus Evans will start the year with the club, as he has just progressed really, really nicely. Had a good spring training as well. Had a 2 ERA in spring training, so that's very impressive. And teammates were really buzzing about the kind of stuff that he has, so that's another cool thing about this game. Like I said, Mike Minor is out 5 months. Vlad Jr. wins the World Cup of Baseball most valuable player thing, so that's good. Charlie Morton's out for the year. Sucks for the Rays. And this is very, very important. Bubba Thompson has come so far, right? He is on his way to becoming a regular MLB player for us. And, that brings up a lot of questions. That brings up, where does he fit in? Who does he start over? Where exactly does Nomar go if he's playing right field? Do we put him in left field? What happens to Joey Gallo? There's a lot of different things that could happen. There's a lot of different circumstances that we can make work for him to come up. So that's why I was thinking of, Joey Gallo has to show me something this year. Because Bubba Thompson's on his way up and he's looking legit. And if he tears it up in Double-A, because he damn sure tore it up in spring training, he played almost every single spring training game. I wanted to see who exactly Bubba Thompson was. And I know it's only a month and a half, but he hit 389 with a 411 OBP, almost a 1,000 OPS. He had over a 1,000 OPS most of spring training. He showed some pop. I think he hit 2 or 3 homers. Listen, this kid's the real deal, and he's on his way up. Joey Gallo has to show me something, or he's going to be traded. And Yeah. So Bubba Thompson done his way up. Julio Pablo Martinez, bit of a disappointment. This is about where his development is going to stop. So I don't know if he's ever going to be a full-time major leaguer. I think Leotis has him beat out for that. Chad Wesley Smith, I think he had a decent spring training. Andy Ibanez has developed a lot. As you can see, he's a very, very good balanced hitter. He'll be platooning with Rougned Odor this season. Who else has developed a lot? I think Jack Leiter has, but he's not on here. And this is the top 100 prospects list. Forrest Whitley is there. Yeah, he's starting the year out in Houston, so that'll be exciting for them. He had an excellent spring training. Looking to do more of the same in the regular season. And this is our top 5 prospect, Suzui Miyamoto. And he will start the year in Texas as well. More of a bench guy, like a depth guy, until he develops more. And then he'll probably be our starting third baseman. So yeah, Keston Hero, obviously he's really fucking good. And I'm sure you guys know most of these guys. Hunter Green, how is he developing? Yeah, he looks like a beast. Did not have a very good year last year though. And so, like I said, spring training taught me a lot. And it brought up, about 6 things that I was really just thinking of and asking myself. And have it right here. This is the lineup that we're going to be rolling with. This is the rotation. And this is the bullpen that we're going to be rolling with into 2020. But none of this is set in stone. Guys are going to be moving around, especially with the young guys developing, like Bubba Thompson. Cole Winn is also developing really nicely. Nick Solak that we got in the trade for Asdrubal is developing. Anderson Tejada is developing. Like, a lot of guys are making a name for themselves. And so, number 1 on the list, Bubba Thompson's legit. He is coming much, much earlier than anticipated. And that goes into what I was talking about. He's coming. Yeah, he's coming. He's a very, very good player. Showed it in spring training. Showed it last year and the year prior in the minors. The kid's breaking out right before our eyes. But the thing is, we don't really have a spot right now. And it might be Joey Gallo's spot. We might move Nomar over to left. Put Bubba in right. That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I need Joey Gallo to show me something. And that goes into number 2. What does Joey Gallo's future hold? And to be quite frankly, it's all up to him. If he goes off this year, he forces my hand, then we got to keep him. He's got to be a part of the window. If he doesn't go off, if he shows more of the same, hitting around the Mendoza line, under 320 OBP with around 40 homers, that's just not going to cut it. It was cool the first year to see another guy in a Rangers uniform hitting 40 homers, but it's not good enough. It's not good enough to take us deep in the playoffs. It's not good enough to be a staple in the lineup. It's not good enough to bring a guy in on third on a sac fly with 1 out. I need somebody that's going to be dependable every game. I don't need somebody that's going to win a game by himself once a week, hitting 2 or 3 homers. I need somebody that's going to be dependable every single day. That's going to be good defensively. He is good defensively, but you guys know what I mean. He's been very inconsistent. He has shown the flashes of being one of the best players in the MLB. I mean, the talent's there. He shows flashes every year. But I got to see it. For 162 games, I got to see it. So Who is going to step up and be that ace? And this goes in more of next year and the year after during our window. Is it going to be Jack Leiter? Is it going to be Cole Winn? Is it going to be Owen White? Or is it going to be somebody that we sign? Is it going to be somebody that we draft this year with the 10th overall pick? I don't know. And, I have a lot of questions that have to be answered about this rotation. Because, to be quite honest, I don't think any of these guys are going to be in the rotation during our championship teams. This bullpen is definitely championship material. You look up and down this bullpen, every single one of these guys, I would have extreme confidence in a close game in the playoffs. In this rotation, however, I don't have confidence in any of them. So, got to find that ace. Got to find a supporting cast as well to hold up that ace. And who has earned the closer role? We did sign that South Korean. His stuff is just fantastic. He signed to a pretty big deal as well. So we have a little bit invested in him. But Jose Leclerc, it's been 2 years as the closer. He hasn't given us any reason why he shouldn't be the closer. He's only thrown 57 and 48 innings over the past 2 years, but that's not really his fault. He's been efficient in the innings that he has thrown. This year, we're going to do something different with Jose Leclerc. We're going to throw him at least 60 innings, and we're going to see, really how far he has came. Because last year, he walked 7 per 9 innings. The year prior, he walked 4 per 9, which is, a bit more manageable out of a bullpen piece. But if he walks 7 and 9, that's just not going to cut it. He can't be that closer, that championship closer. He can be a very, very, very good bullpen piece, but he can't be that championship closer. So we're going to test Jose Leclerc this year. He is going to start the year out as the closer, but we are going to test him, and we are going to test the South Korean as well. This offense has a chance to carry us to the playoffs and beyond. We're only an ace and a legit 3-starter away, and that was what I was talking about earlier. Who's going to step up and be that ace? Who am I going to sign to be that ace? Who am I going to draft to be that ace? Or who's going to develop into being that ace? And who's going to develop into being that 3-starter? Jack Leiter, Cole Winn, they both have unlimited potential. They're definitely at least a 3-starter. But they got to develop. They got to show that determination. They got to prove it in the minors. And they're still a few years away. So, there's a lot of question marks about this rotation. And the last thing is we have a ton of depth. We have a ton of depth in AA and AAA. We have a plethora of position players that can probably start on some major league teams, and I have them in AA and AAA. So there's a lot of questions about this team. A lot of questions were answered during spring training, and I'm sure more of these questions will be answered, as the year goes on. So thank you guys for watching. We'll be back after the first year player draft, much like the first season, but thank you guys so much for watching. I'm having a ton of fun with this series. Peace out, guys.